The White House is scrambling this weekend to try to turn around a major defeat on trade engineered by members of his own party in Congress. What makes this fascinating is one of the president's key allies is Republican Congressman Paul Ryan, who ran against him in 2012. Congressman Ryan is now chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. And Congressman, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to trade, I want to ask you a little bit about Hillary Clinton. In her rally yesterday, she reached out to the traditional elements of the Democratic Party, women, young people, Hispanics on the immigration issue, gays. What did you think? And let me also say that she also hammered the Republican Party as the party of the rich. What did you think of her speech?
Rich with irony. Same old, identity politics, dividing people into subgroups, hardly very aspirational. And I think what she basically did was the same old Democrat progressive speech, which is promise a lot of new big government, have people become more dependent upon big government, and then figure out how to pay for it later. Mixed in with a few straw man arguments. And so nothing was surprising about the speech. It's not new, and I think that's what we're going to see as this campaign unfolds.
What do you make of the fact that Clinton, so far, and we saw with Karen Finney just now, refuses to say not only where she stands on the underlying trade deal, but even on the question of whether or not the president should get fast-track authority?
That was one of the most painful interviews I think I've watched in a long time. I can't believe it. Pick a position that's what leaders do. And we're not talking about passing a trade agreement right now. TPP is still being negotiated. It doesn't exist yet as an agreement. We're talking about whether we can even consider a trade agreement, whether Congress can set up the procedures to consider trade agreements so that we can have more American leadership in the economy for more American trade, so we can create more jobs for Americans that pay more. This is what this is about. It's about global leadership. And surely a person who is Secretary of State understands something about American leadership, and to refuse to even take a position is just sort of mystifying to me.
After House Democrats blocked the president on part of the fast-track trade authority deal in the House on Friday, you said it's not over yet. But the vote on this issue, the TAA issue, gets complicated here, but an element of the fast-track trade authority, the vote was 302 to 126. This wasn't close. So how likely is it, how realistic that you're going to be able to get dozens of Democrats especially, but also some Republicans, dozens, to switch their votes in a couple of days?
So let me shed a little bit of light on this. Number one, the heavy lifting is over. Trade Promotion Authority, which is the more difficult part, the heavy lift, it's done. And I'm very proud of House Republicans and the pro-trade Democrats who delivered. We delivered big time. So the tough part is over. The heavy lifting is over, which is necessary. The Democrats abandoned their president, the leader of their party, in droves on a bill and a program that they demanded as part of this, that they have previously voted for unanimously, that they asked as a part of this process. So to me, it was stunning that they would do this to the leader of their party, the president.
But if I may, to answer my question, how likely is it you're going to turn that around?
The president has a lot of work to do with his own party to turn this around, to salvage this. I'm optimistic. I think that this can be salvaged because I think people are going to realize just how big the consequences are for American leadership, for whether or not America is going to lead in the global economy and write the rules, whether we're going to expand markets for more jobs, or we're just going to retreat. Is fear and falsehood going to grip this country so that we can't do anything big anymore? Or are we going to overcome these things? And will the Democrats, it's irony, it's ironic, they're the ones who are making him a very lame duck president, his own party. And so he has work to do with his party, and I hope that he can get that work done and we can fix this.
You talk about the stakes here. If the Pacific trade deal goes down because he doesn't even get the fast-track authority, how damaging to the country, to its economic interest, to its strategic interests, and how do you answer the argument by some Democrats, certainly by big labor, that these trade deals are good for big corporations, but they're bad for American workers who either lose their jobs or see their salaries lowered?
It's the opposite. Big corporations can set up a factory in another country to make something there and sell it there. By getting trade agreements, you're removing those trade barriers so that you can make things in America. So small businesses can be a part of trade. They're the ones who benefit the most. And trade creates more jobs. 1 in 5 jobs in America tied to trade. They pay more. So more American trade means more small businesses, more jobs. But the consequences, that's your first question. If we say to the world, we're retreating and we're not going to do these trade agreements, then we're going to let other countries like China write the rules of the global economy. There have been 100 trade agreements put in place since 2007, when TPA last lapsed. America has been a party to 0 of those. What this means is the rest of the world is going around there getting better deals between their countries and keeping barriers up for America so that American trade cannot occur, so that we cannot send our goods and services to other countries because other trade agreements have knocked us out. That's the deal. That's what's going on here. So to retreat from doing that, to say that America is not going to engage in the world, is not going to knock down barriers, or get other countries to play by our rules, that would be a massive mistake and a failure of American leadership. The Republicans delivered, though. I'm happy to say Republicans have delivered. The question is, are the Democrats going to do this to their president?
I want to switch to Obamacare because the Supreme Court is going to decide in the next couple of weeks before the end of June whether or not people in the 34 states that have federal exchanges, not state exchanges, can continue to get their subsidies under Obamacare. You asked HHS Secretary Burwell this week if the vote goes against Obamacare, whether the administration has a plan B. Here's what she said.
If the court says that we do not have the authority to give subsidies, the critical decisions will sit with the Congress and states and governors.
Question. If the court does rule against Obamacare, against these subsidies, says that they're illegal through the federal exchanges, will Republicans come up with a way, Republicans in Congress, to make sure that those 6 to 7 million people who depend on these subsidies in those 34 states are not left high and dry?
We will have an answer. We will have a solution. We don't want people to fall victim because of this bad law. And we want to give people freedom from Obamacare. We want to give people a bridge from Obamacare. So not only do we want to make sure that families don't suffer because of the failures of this law, we also want to give states the freedom to go their own direction and make it better. This law is failing. It's collapsing. Even if the court ruled for Obamacare, you still have a disaster on our hands. Double-digit premium increases. People are not getting what they want. So we want to give people more freedom, the ability to buy what they want to buy, which is what Obama said you could do, and give the states more control.
But I want to. You're saying you guarantee the Republicans will come.
We will have a solution, yes.
That will make sure that these 6 to 7 million people will be able to keep their subsidies.
We will have a solution that addresses this law, that gives people a bridge from Obamacare, and that addresses the people who are getting caught in the crossfire, that are getting caught in this ruling.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about.
We will have a solution that addresses people who are being caught in this solution. I won't go into all of the details because, quite frankly, Chris, we want to see the nature of the ruling. There are
no, I understand that, but here's the question. Here's the question, Congressman.
The answer is yes. We'll have a solution for the people who are caught up in this law so that they're not left in the lurch.
But here's the question. Will you demand an end to the mandates, the employer mandates, the individual mandates, which Secretary Burwell said, in effect, would amount to repealing Obamacare and that the president would veto?
Well, I'm not going to get into all of that right now because we want to see what the ruling is, but we want to give people freedom from Obamacare. We want to let people actually buy what they want to buy so that we can lower health care prices.
But in other words, what she's saying is your solution is going to be something, an offer that the president can't accept.
Here's what they're saying is they're going to hold up a one-piece page of paper, and he's going to say, it's my way or the highway. Just give me my law. Ram it down the throats of the Americans again. We're not going to do that. I think everybody knows we're not going to do that. That's what I was asking the secretary, which is, are you going to be intransigent and stubborn and say it's only my way or the highway? Or are you going to work with Congress to fix this absolutely failed law and give us the ability to get people out of this so that we can have more freedom for individuals, more freedom for states? And we'll find out.
Well, I want to pick up on that because you've said a couple of times that this is a failed law. In your hearing this week, you said that Obamacare is busted, that it's a lemon. There clearly are problems. You pointed out one of them, which is that insurance companies are coming up asking for 20, 30% premium increases. But the White House points to some successes, and I want to put these on the screen. Under Obamacare, 16 million Americans have gained health coverage. Health care costs have risen at their slowest level in 50 years, and up to 129 million Americans with pre-existing conditions are no longer in risk of losing coverage. And meanwhile, for all the complaints, Congressman, we're 5 years into Obamacare, Republicans have still not come up with a coherent plan that will ensure that all of those millions of uninsured people get coverage.
It's pretty amazing how short memories are around these days. When Obamacare was being debated, we offered lots of different plans. We offered comprehensive alternative solutions to Obamacare. Tom Colbert and I had a bill, for example, that would have dealt with this. Here's the deal. We can have a system in America where everybody can get affordable coverage, including people with pre-existing conditions, without this costly government takeover, without raiding Medicare, without telling people you have to buy what the government says you have to buy on a government marketplace.
But if I may, I want to be an equal opportunity interrupter here today.
No, it's all good.
Do you have a plan that would make sure that, for instance, here, 16 million Americans who didn't have health insurance will get health insurance?
So, yes, we will. We want to see what the ruling is specifically so that we can customize our response to the actual ruling. And that plan will involve making sure that people have assistance as we transition and give people freedom from Obamacare. And the other answer is, can we replace this law completely in the next presidency, in the next Congress? That is our goal, and the answer is yes, we can.
Finally, we've got about a minute left. As the vice presidential running mate with Mitt Romney in 2012, I think it was fair to say a lot of people thought you were going to run for president. You decided not to. You stayed in the House. You're chairman of House Ways and Means. You're involved in a lot of big issues. But as you watch all of these dozen or more candidates running around the country, do you ever have any second thoughts?
I don't. I'm not the kind of person who does that. I was playing basketball with my kids over this past weekend at home in Janesville, and then I flipped on the TV and I saw people crisscrossing the country. I'm in a position where I can make a huge difference for the people I represent, for the country I love, and still be home on weekends with my family. And that makes me very content.
Do you actually think to yourself, I'm glad I'm not doing that?
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
That was an honest answer. It's okay to say that. Congressman Ryan, thank you. Thanks for coming in today, and we'll stay on top of this trade story this week. It's important.
It is. It's very important.